You're listening to Rein It In with Ash and Jess.
To myself, yeah, I can find out where my comfort zone. We're getting told off a lot at the moment about not touching the mic. But I fucking do this thing where I sit there.
Yeah, you go up and that is really annoying.
Fucking.
I've only watched 2 of these and it's annoying already.
Welcome back to the Rein It In podcast. I don't even want to give you this. It's like a really nice intro. I'm going to take
Should we
it
just
back.
finish there?
It was written by me, so...
Welcome back to the Rein It In podcast with Ash and Josh, where we're joined by international dressage rider Jess Gale, founder of the podcast Decomplicated Dressage, which is all about helping riders outside of their 45-minute lesson slots. The training platform makes dressage makes sense and gives you the knowledge and support you need to progress towards your goals and dreams. Her members' success range from getting that right canter strike off all the way through to getting those tails and competing at the PSG. PSG, who doesn't want to compete there? So no matter whether you are, I can tell you wrote this, Josh, because there's some grammar that is just not in here at all. So no matter wherever you are, just starting out in the dressage, in the dressage, starting out in the dressage, really? You tell me how that makes sense.
Can I say that went for AI and was corrected as well, so that isn't even on me.
Dreadful. If you're just starting out in dressage or have those Grand Prix dreams, DD is all about helping you achieve what you want to achieve. Jess is an international dressage rider and BD accredited coach, as well as a BD youth coach and assessor. She has trained with world-class trainers and competed at the highest level, and now wants to share all of her knowledge and information with you so you can learn, feel inspired and motivated, and see real progress towards your riding goals and dreams. Sit back, rein it in. I'm improvising this bit. I was seeing where I went and nothing really flowed off the top. So it's going to be a good podcast. Enjoy. Jess, welcome. I felt really like presenter-y, but
That was very impressive.
That was quite sassy.
Thank you very much. What was we talking about before we started, before I told you to shush?
The aggressive messages that I get from Josh
That is...
all the time.
Yeah.
They're helpful and insightful. Let's add this here,
Some
right? Let's put
are.
this into context.
The majority, every
Out of context,
voicemail,
that
every
doesn't sound
voicemail I've
great.
had from you is, you are useless, you are not answering your phone.
Oh yeah, because I honestly, I'll phone Jess. I'll be like, I've not spoken to her in a while,
Yeah.
and she's never in our whole friendship ever answered the phone when I call her.
I'm always teaching a lesson all the time.
Like genuinely,
See,
I'll phone
that-
her and I'll be like, don't know.
That is what a
Yeah.
successful person looks like.
Yeah.
So
At
we wouldn't know. We was having a conversation the other day about me reply. So I'm really bad at replying on my phone, and Josh gets really frustrated with the amount of notifications I have. I have like 150.
Wait, don't group me. Everyone gets annoyed.
Yeah, I have like 150.
Did you have like 50 WhatsApp notifications?
That's the
I'm the
minimum.
same.
I have like a couple hundred, and it's the same with messages and emails and everywhere. I'm really bad at reply. I'll see something and I'll go, must reply to that. I'll reply to it in my head. But even more that I got myself into trouble with, or actually you kind of got me in trouble with in the car on the way back from Hoy's, was I only really replied to Josh. So Charlie was kind of like, yeah, like I can't get a reply out of my own boyfriend, but Josh called 9:30. You all right, mate? How you getting on? Yeah, sweet, cool. So
Why do you want to make that public knowledge?
he went in with the conversation. I was trying to group me with you so you didn't look as bad.
No, don't worry. You made yourself look way worse there.
Okay. Welcome back to the Rein It In podcast. Jess, thank you for coming on. For the people that haven't heard your podcast yet, if they've been living under a rock, they don't know the great successes you have gone on to achieve. Where is your background? Where does your background in horses stem from?
So I started riding for about 3 or 4. My mum had always wanted to ride and she was never able to. So I was kind of politely forced into it and fell off a lot of times and got placed back on my horse. And I jumped until I was 14 and then realised that dressage was significantly easier and I didn't have to jump any fences, which was terrifying. And I seemed to win a lot and I quite liked winning. And then it got progressively harder. So that's how I got into it. And then it's just escalated from there. It got more expensive.
I couldn't get out of it.
Literally.
So you've known Josh for a long time. When would you say you first Why did you look at me like that?
Were you talking to someone that's known me for like 10 plus years?
I think he was like 12 when I met him.
Amazing. Let's start with that. The pause is I'm waiting for something that is going to come out. I first met Josh with his...
No, I was dating at the time when we first met.
Yeah, and he was nicer then. He was like
Really?
more
I think
normal.
I think he's
actually,
got
no,
better.
I take that back. I
He's
take that back.
no,
definitely
exactly.
got better. Definitely got better.
and you were dating.
I don't think we should be
God,
saying
yeah.
names.
Should we say full names?
I
middle names.
will bleep these names. I will bleep these names.
I don't think it matters really. It's in New Zealand. And fine.
If you want to find them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I may or may not bleep this if I have the time in editing.
So yeah, that's how we met. It was up at the under 25 nationals, wasn't it?
Yeah, I knew no one. And then suddenly all I remember is we were all slightly tipsy after being given lots of alcohol. And
At 14 years old.
yeah, don't ask me how. It was probably Josh.
That actually
Wheeling
makes
each other
perfect
around
sense.
in wheelbarrows. That's all I remember.
And yeah, we ended up in the judges' box, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swapping shoes.
With the judges.
It was very odd. No.
No, this was like at 1
They
in
were
the
probably in a
morning
nice hotel
in the
somewhere.
arena.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So that is how that came about. But anyway, Jess, getting back onto some serious stuff here.
Sorry, I thought I was going to be able to get some real dirt out there. but
Yeah,
no.
preferably not on the podcast. Maybe wait for later.
Nah, clickbait, isn't it?
So can you tell us about your journey to becoming an international/European dressage rider?
Yeah, so I started dressage when I was 14. And then when I was 15, I was very lucky. My parents bought me an advanced medium horse, not intended to compete. It was just to kind of help me know the feeling of like the half passes and the changes and things like that. He was a little bit older and it was more to help me with my young horse. And we took him to Sheepgate, where I met you. And just because it was cheaper than hiring someone to keep riding him. And it just so happened that the junior selector there was judging the classes. And she put a message on my test sheet saying, call me, with her number at the bottom. And I was petrified that I'd done something really, really
Never good when it's
badly
just
wrong.
left with a call me.
What? I've never had it again that a judge puts their number on a test sheet. It was petrifying. And it was Judy Firmston Williams, who was one of the selectors at the time. And she said, I'd done like prelim and novice at this point. Like I had no clue what I was doing. I was just winging it. And she said, oh, are you coming to the viewing day? And I was like, yeah, sure. Don't really know what it is, but that's fine. So I went along to the viewing day. They went, realistically, probably not going to go to an international this year, but just get some experience, have fun, do the training days. And then that was October. January, we went down to south of France for the spring tour because we won a Premier League, did the Europeans, made the European team that year. And then, so it was all, I had no clue what I was doing. It was just pure winging it. He won down in the south of France and then he placed quite highly in France in Compiègne. So he made the team. And then pre-Europeans, you go away for like a team camp. And the team vet at the time was like, your horse's name. So
Your horse's name?
lame.
Oh, your horse is lame. I was going to say, that sounds like a magic trick. I didn't quite understand.
So we basically got all the way to that. It was a bit of a whirlwind. And then they were like, yeah, no, you're not going. So it was good in a way. But then following year, he then made the team again.
So what, going in from that, you then moved on to creating decomplicated dressage.
A long time after.
Long time after. So where was that link between taking your experience and creating what you created? What was it that spurred that incentive?
So I have done my BDCC. They used to call it UKCC. And all the way through, they were like, you talk too much. You talk too much. Not everyone's interested in the theory side. Not everyone's interested in like the knowledge. And that was always the thing that I would do when I teach. I'd just talk too much. And so...
We'd have guessed.
yeah, I know, I do talk a lot.
It's good for a podcast, does help.
You are welcome. So they kind of said you need an outlet for all your talking and all your theory. So that was the point of the podcast, was that it was just all different explanations and different theory. So when I did teach my lessons, I could say, just go and listen to this podcast episode. And it was easier to do that. And then if they wanted to go away and listen to it, they could. If they weren't that interested, they didn't have to. But then over COVID, I think people got quite interested in listening to it and it got quite popular. So then it kind of escalated. And I think we've got like 100 episodes now, I want to say.
That is what's the stats? We always refer back to these stats as well.
We know
I don't
one
even know
stat.
the stats.
It's like top 1%.
No, there's one of the stats I'm referring
Well,
to.
you talk about yourself as being one of the top equestrian podcasts.
We are.
I'm just saying.
We are the fastest growing #1 international equestrian podcast there is.
And if you don't believe it, try and prove us wrong.
That's true. Our stats are insane. But no, it was like there was a certain number of podcasts in, I don't know if it was the world of the UK. And I can't remember where it was based, like the analytics were drawn from. It was like if you do 22 episodes? 21 episodes back to back, you're automatically in the top 10% of those like 800,000 episodes. And then if you go on to do up to like 30 for say, you're then in the top 1% of all of those 800,000 podcasts. Jeez. But I think it was a lot more than that. I just don't know the exact number. So for you to have been on done 100 episodes, honestly, is insane, because this will be our 25th episode and we've enjoyed it, but it has been,
it's hard work.
So hard.
And I think people don't realise that, like even like the amount of research, like I know a bit, but like I don't know everything by any means. And if you're going to talk about something like we were saying, throughness, you've got to make sure that what you're saying is right. Otherwise people pull you up. And I have, like, especially when I started out, I had a few people pulling me up and being like, oh, but so-and-so says that it's this. And it's like, well, dressage, everyone has different ways of doing it, but I say how I do it, and it's what works for me.
Yeah.
How do you think your experiences from, say, the Europeans? Obviously, you then actually had a period away from riding as well, didn't you? How do you think that helped you to sort of create a platform to let it all out?
I think so. The teaching played a big part. So I went away and had 4 years away from horses. I say away, like I still rode, I still taught a bit, but I was a secondary school teacher for 4 years, and that was where like the teaching side came more into it. And I think if you learn how to teach a group of 30-year-old teenage boys, 30 I was
going to say, where was this primary school?
It's a really interesting school. 30 teenage boys, and you could teach them about like a river and they actually get it and actually remember it. Like, you can teach them dressage. That's kind of easy. Especially like the people I teach now, they actually want to be there. Whereas the majority of kids I taught in school really didn't. So
why did you have those 4 years away from riding professionally?
I think everyone has it. When you leave young riders, there's so much support, especially if you're kind of in the process of having your Europeans, like you're part of the teams and everything. There's so much support there. And then you finish that year and there's literally nothing. And it all ties in at the same time as you making the decisions of whether you want to be a professional rider, a coach, what you want to do with your life. And you are literally on your own to try and sort it out and make a business and try and make it financially viable, which is never going to happen. So I thought that I could get coaching and get rides and have owners and it was all just going to appear. And it didn't, understandably. So I literally couldn't afford it, and it just wasn't viable at all. So teaching seemed like an interesting job. I had a geography degree as well, so I went into being a geography teacher and then built up clients, and then when I had enough clients then I could leave teaching, and then COVID hit, so I then couldn't teach.
Yeah, but it's good. It's almost like
timing.
You managed to utilise different skills from different areas of your life and then somehow managed to channel them into one thing, essentially.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do at all until maybe like a year ago. So it was all just trial and error, and I'm now 28. Can we swear?
You can do it.
I don't know why I'm talking about this, Josh, on this podcast.
And this is why we're the fastest growing, is because people can be themselves.
I'm 28 now, or 27, I can't remember. But like, I had no clue what I was doing until maybe like a year ago. I was confident that this is what I want to do, but tried things out, and this is what hit now. I love the coaching, that is my passion, but I've now got owners and horses and established sales business and like everything there now to make it actually financially viable.
How do you find, have you ever found any encounters between having decomplicated dressage and having owners? Anything like contradictory to what you say that they may have an opinion on that's affected your professional business side of it?
I think It's a bit of like a juggling act because we've got the sales yard side, we've got my coaching side, we've got my horses and my competition side, and then we've got decomplicating. So I tried to keep them all quite separate, but I think for the owners is hard, like it always is. And I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, but for the most part, like my owners are great, and they really, from the beginning, really bought into how I train my horses and my philosophy. And I made that very clear from the beginning because of kind of previous mistakes that I made before with owners. So I was very keen for them to know this is how I train my horses and this is what I kind of believe in. And they all really buy into that now. So I'm really lucky with that. So everything I do with decomplicating kind of
actually aid you,
actually comes in. Yeah, if anything. I mean, if they want to know how I'm training their horses, they can just go and listen to that.
Yeah, I guess it's so transparent, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you can literally go step by step, this is what I do.
Yeah. And that's very much like I train with Gareth Hughes and more recently with Roland, who lives near me. And Gareth very much is like, there is a system and there is a structure and the horse works their way through that system. And so I think with the owners as well, they buy into that as well. So they know, even if they don't necessarily know 100% what their horse is doing, they know kind of where the horse is at within the system and where they're going. So it's more, it's more transparent, it's more clear.
Yeah.
What were the previous mistakes you would say that you made with owners?
So can you hold that for me?
Get yourself tucked in there, girl.
Thanks. I think I completely botched this.
There you go. It's just a normal headphone, Jess. Don't get too
I'm
stressed
so
out.
technologically inept. I'm like a grandma. What were we talking about?
So what were
Owners.
the previous mistakes you made with owners?
So I was really lucky. I had owners from quite a young age. So there were a few horses that I rode for, like young horses and things for people. And then as I kind of got older and tried to start my own business, I had a few more. And most of the time, I think when I look back, it's more miscommunication from both sides. Like I wasn't very clear on where I saw the horse going or where I thought the horse was at, or like there were times where I think I saw a horse going in one direction and they saw their horse going in another direction, or they thought their horse would get to X level and I didn't make it very clear to them that I didn't, or I thought it could go higher or things like that. And I think by not making it clear to them and having that communication, the owners then felt a bit like, well, I don't know what my horse is doing. I felt a bit like they weren't very supportive, and if anything, they were a bit against me. But it's all learning. Like now I think I'm really lucky that the owners I have now really clearly know like what their horse is doing and where they're at and where we're going and the aims for them all and the plans. Whereas I think when I was younger, that wasn't clear to me even, let alone I was just kind of seeing where the horses ended up. So
what does that communication and planning look like now from where it was, say, 5-6 years ago?
So I think, some I rode for owners that their yards, some were based with us. And I think the ones that are based with you are probably, depending on the owners, probably harder because they don't see their horses so much. And quite a lot of them understandably love their horses. And so they want to know what's going on. And so even little things like we now send them photos of the horses in the field and things like that, just to be like, your horse is happy and they are loving life and they can come and see them whenever they want and things like that. But I think we just try to involve them as much as possible. And some really want to be involved loads and some are quite happy to just kind of be left and just receive updates on their horses via message. And I think that's probably, to be fair, what I learned from teaching as well, because parents can be a bit the same. Like you have some parents who are really invested in their kids' education and want to know what's going on all the time, and some that couldn't care less. So that's probably where I learned that from, is knowing what the owners want and what they see as much as what I want and what I see the horses doing.
Yeah, there's actually a huge difference you actually touched on between having a horse that you're riding for an owner at yours or leaving sight and riding and competing a horse for an owner that looks after the horse himself. And I think, funny enough, I probably actually found that I had more problems with owners that looked after and managed their horses at home.
I think it's harder because you have no control then. And I think
because of the environment.
I had two that they were in control, like the feed and things like that. So if I thought the horse needed more feed or less feed or was getting a bit fat, or you want physio intervention or dentist or tack or things like that, all of that is under the control of that owner. Whereas when they're with you, you have a little bit more control over what you think is best.
And you have to take the word for everything. So, for example, there was numerous times, and I mean numerous, that I would go out and ride people's horses. I'd be told something has happened. For example, they've put this horse out in the field, right? And then I find out it hadn't been out in the field for 3 days and had been in the stable for 72 hours. The first time it came out the stable was when I sat on it and it tried to kill me. So the honesty is very, very difficult. Whereas if that was at mine and I was like, this horse is fresh, it is naughty, that needs to go out overnight, and then I'll ride it and I'll have no problem.
Is that because some a small minority of owners don't understand horses to the level that you guys do as riders, that they could leave a horse in a stable for 72 hours and not actually think, oh, that might come out like a blazing gun, and put as you as a rider in a situation? Or is it because their own ego that they feel like, I appreciate what you say, but I want to do it like this?
I think everyone's different, aren't they? Like, I think you get some that generally like do their horses their way and it's their way and that's how they do things, and that might be totally different to how you do things. Equally, I think if you're not the one, like you were saying with yours, if you're not the one having to get on the horse, I think sometimes people can be a bit more laid back about it. But if you're the one actually having to sit on it, then you're a bit more careful about it.
And to me, like at that time, I had a reputation for riding naughty horses. So people would be like, oh, doesn't matter, Josh will get on it. So it was a bit of both, you know.
Is that quite a difficult stage to get out of, right? If you become known for riding naughty horses?
You didn't have that, did you?
I wasn't in that.
you
I
not?
very, very, very firmly, as I saw Josh starting to get his name for himself in that area, I was like, I am very firmly staying out of this area and very much not getting involved. And I would like send horses to Josh and be like,
So
you want someone brave and confident?
You kept him pinned in that corner.
Jess is the reason for Henley.
Yeah.
My old boy.
Yeah, I know Henley.
Yeah.
Personally, lovely
Lovely
lad.
man.
Yeah.
Lovely lad. Very feisty.
Yeah, but yeah, that was down to Jess.
Yeah. Okay, no, bringing back. I told you, terrible memory.
Exactly. Your eyes look really blank.
Yeah, I was going to
It's
say.
been a long day. So yeah, you can imagine if you're doing the thing that a lot of people are a little bit sort of nervy on doing, and you become really good on that, it's very hard to unniche yourself, because everyone sort of wants to keep baby in the corner because well, you're good at it. You just stay there, just stay in that lane.
It was why I was very lucky that I grew a business very quickly though.
Yeah.
Because I like certain people around me that would be either at a stage where they don't want to do it anymore. I was young and up and coming. They didn't want to fall off, didn't want to put themselves at risk. They don't have to anymore. Or certain people don't want to. So I have my own niche within.
And there are always going to be those types of horses with riders that don't want to sit on. And I think I remember you put a video up like of you being thrown into a fence.
Is this the one low quality? It's like in the far corner. Yeah, bad.
And I remember I had so many clients after being like, oh, that Josh Hill, like he's brave. And I was like, yeah, if you want your
stupid.
Yeah, that's what I would have called it.
Yeah. Have you ever just experienced symptoms of stress, burnout when managing between your different businesses and owners, and how you run that?
All the time. Yeah, like 24/7. I think everyone does it. Like it's a constant. And I think if you're in the horse world as well, like you just have to do it. Like it's not. I think when I was a teacher, we had loads of people, but you'd have people that go, I need a me day. And you'd be like, that's great. I've got horses to go ride. I can't have a me day. But I think, yeah, generally like with the horses in the yard side, that's generally fine because we've got a really big, really good staff team at Froxfield. So they all know what they're doing. So that side's the kind of easy bit. And we've got a team of riders now as well. So I'm not having to ride everything, which makes my life a lot easier. Splitting the coaching and the sales and doing the viewings and then trying to find time for decomplicating and everything else, that is hard. But it's significantly easier than when I was trying to do it all and teach every day as well.
So what are some of those like symptoms where you start to recognise you're getting really sort of run down, your battery's running on low? Because as equestrians and the lifestyle, like you say, with the school, they go, I'm done. you equestrians still have to go out and do that. And a lot of equestrians are badass. They'll just keep playing through, but it's not sustainable. At what point can you start to see it creeping in? Actually, I need to take a step back from me and put my own mental and physical health first.
I'm really bad at it. I live with my boyfriend, so he's generally the one to pick it up first. Fiance.
Oh God, that's not good when you have to correct her.
Who looks worse
I just
now?
don't like saying fiance. I just think it sounds really weird. But I'll say husband in 6 months' time, so that's
there
fine.
you go.
Hopefully. He still wants to be with me.
Not after that.
If I stop burning out every time. But he generally goes like, I'll come home and he'll be like, you're dead behind your eyes. Generally, especially over the summer, like I was teaching till people want lessons at like crazy times.
Well,
so over the summer, I was
teaching
teaching till like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I would come home. Yeah. Because it's still light outside. So people are like, yeah, sure. I've got floodlights, 11 o'clock, fine.
Would you come home and then eat dinner at, say, 11 o'clock, or would you be like eating on the move?
So I have a really unhealthy thing that I don't eat lunch and I don't eat breakfast. So I just tend to go. And then when I stop, I eat all my 2,000. I can see, Josh, there's so much judgment in his eyes.
No.
I will eat
think
all
that's
my
fine.
required 2,000 calories.
I think that's actually
dinner
quite
time.
healthy.
That's the diet.
just go to bed.
That's the diet I do though. I have a nomad diet. I eat 1 meal a day.
Well, this is the thing, is now it's becoming popular. Like I listen to these podcasts and they're like, oh, intermittent fasting. I'm like, yeah, I do that.
we do a bit of intermittent fasting. I do a bit and he does a lot all the time. But I think it's more about making it healthy, is making sure you've got the right supplements in your body to actually tick over and do that. And so it's like, if you start on the face of it, that's fantastic, but how much water are you drinking?
But also I think the majority, like I'm sure the majority of people who work with horses will agree, like it's not like I go, oh, one sec, like I've got now like a Apple Watch and it's like, oh, have your glass of water. I'm like, I'm riding a horse and I've got 3 more to ride. Realistically, I'm not going to stop, have a glass of water and then carry on. So, but I think it is one of those things that is, I am trying recently to be better at it and have lunch and have my protein shakes and drink my water and everything else, because you do, like, it does just burn you out so quickly and it's not healthy. And realistically, you end up riding the horses less well anyway if you have no energy and you're dehydrated and you're tired, and I probably end up teaching worse as well. So it's only fair to them that I do as best I can. I'm getting better at it, but I am awful.
Have you noticed like positive changes since implementing that into your lifestyle?
Yeah, like I've always been one about sleep. That's like my thing, because I know if I don't get enough sleep, I am honestly like the most vile human being on the planet. So sleep is like my thing, but food, gym, all of that has such a big impact. Like if I don't go to the gym one day, like I feel so much more tired and so much more just not with it than if I've gone that morning or the evening before. So I'm trying. It's a work in progress. Can we do another one of these in like a year and then I'll be like,
we'll basically
I'm
do a
great.
comparison.
I am like a
update for you.
fountain of health and not yet.
Depending on how the wedding goes, it could be an interesting podcast.
Oh, tears. A lot.
Why tears? What's happening?
Tears help. No, it really does help.
Engaged for 4 months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can already think of the captions. I'll make sure the edit looks nicer as long as I get my own invite and I'm not just classed as Josh's +1.
I can't guarantee it.
You're not now anyway.
That's good. I think the girls are coming rather than you guys
I
anyway.
don't think. Well, me and Josh will have to figure out something else.
So when you're dealing with all these like type of issues, dealing with owners and everything, how do you disassociate yourself from that and focus on your horses when you're riding?
God, it's really hard. I think I'm a huge people pleaser, and that's another one of my things that I'm trying to do less of. So I know, especially from the owner's side, when I was younger, like if they turned around and went, I think this horse should be at PSG, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll just try harder. And actually that was the worst thing for that horse at that time. And so I think I've learned my lessons a bit more. Definitely with the horses training side, I am much more adamant, but that's because there are horses involved. If it's me, I'm generally a bit less strict about it in terms of bending over backwards for people. But I think it's a hard line. Like, this is probably completely off topic, but I really struggle with the line of being a people pleaser and being a nice person. Like, I think sometimes when you're really aware that you're a people pleaser, you can end up being like, no, this is what I want, and sometimes veer the other way. So,
but what do you think is a nice person though?
Oh God, we're going to get into like therapy now, aren't we? This is what mine and Josh's conversations end up like every time.
Nice. This is going to
really
sell.
deep.
This is going to sell.
I think I really want to make sure that everyone around me is happy and that I have a really positive influence on everyone. And that is probably, to be fair, why I am a coach, because I have a very clear, and I could see the positive impact that I have on my riders and my clients. And I think when I don't, or when I potentially get things wrong, which is human, I really take that personally. And I think especially if you're riding for owners, that's even more. Like if I'm riding my own horses and I do a bad test, I'm significantly less fussed about it. Like horses make mistakes, I make mistakes, that's fine. If it's an owner's horse, I will beat myself up about it a lot more. So I think, again, it's on my to-do list of...
Why do you think that is, though?
I think it just... I think I just want people to be happy and to have that positive influence on people. I don't like it when I think I can... Not that I can see I have a negative impact, but I think I really want to make sure that I'm doing the best for my horses, if we're talking about like the owners and horses perspective. And the owners are happy and think that they've put their horses in with the right person. And I think there's so much competition with owners in terms of everyone wants one. And I'm really lucky because I couldn't afford to have my own horse. So I wouldn't be able to compete if I didn't have my owners. And I think so many riders need owners and there's just not enough of them around. Yeah. Or they end up going to the top, which leave us younger riders and the ones up and coming with less. But I mean, I'm really lucky. Both my horses, again, if I didn't have the sales yard, both my horses came in for sale, both for different reasons. One had EMS, one was just a bit more tricky, and then I just really clicked with. That's how they'd ended up becoming owners. But I think if we didn't have the sales yard, I wouldn't have had them. So it's really tricky for the younger riders coming through. And even now I'm getting older, the next kind of generation, like they're struggling even more. Like it's really hard for them. So
why is it so hard for them?
I think, again, because the owners want them to go to the top professionals who will... It depends what the owners want, I think. A lot of them, if they've got a really talented horse, want the horse to be at their best and go to the highest level, in which case the top riders are probably... Well, if they sent a horse to my trainer, Gareth, that horse would progress up to Grand Prix a hell of a lot quicker than it would with me, which is totally understandable. But I can't learn how to progress a horse to Grand Prix better and quicker and more effectively and for the better of the horse if we don't have horses to train. So I think there needs to be, I don't know how it will work, but there needs to be something that can get these horses to these younger riders to help them progress and get better. Otherwise we're going to end up, unless you are rich and you can buy your horse yourself, or you just so happen to know someone that's rich that can get you that horse.
Is there anything that, and this is coming from a complete ignorance perspective, is there anything that British dressage could do more to assist that situation?
It's really hard because aside from like talent spotting your riders and then talent spotting horses and then matching them together and hoping that that match would work for the long term, which is rare, there's not really too much that and you'd need a hell of a lot of money to do that. So it either needs to come from the support of very lovely owners, in which case they're going to go to the top riders again. So there definitely needs to be something, but I'm not quite sure how that hole could be filled without an endless supply of money. That's the problem.
Yeah, I can't think of... I was, as you were saying that, I was trying to think of what would outside the box. Like, let's solve this problem now.
Let's fix it.
And yeah, it's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because like the world, it's all centered around financial... So there's like financial backing of it, and we try to do a lot to make it more inclusive, and we talk about doing so, but... Yeah, it costs money. Where do you... Because you can start to say, well, we bring in... sponsors and all of this, but at what level and what is their like profit and loss to it? It's such
extreme costs, isn't it? Like you think about other sports and you go, okay, well, I found a series of athletes that are really potentially talented and could end up being Olympic athletes. If they're doing something like, I don't know, running, the costs, I presume, this is coming from my very naive perspective and people can prove me wrong, I presume the cost would be significantly less than having to progress a rider athlete in terms of their fitness and their sports psychology and everything that world class do and all that side, but for your up and coming athletes, and also provide them with theoretically not just one horse to get them to the Olympics, but also younger horses coming through to get them to the next Olympics. So unless you are already at the top, or you just so happen to have access to those horses, I think there must be so many incredibly talented riders that aren't at the top level because they don't have the horsepower.
Yeah.
So you came in at juniors. I started at ponies. I did national training at ponies, and then you came through juniors. You've done young riders, etc., etc. Do you think those schemes are good for the development of riders?
So are you talking about like the GB teams and things like that?
Yes.
So I did GB teams. I also, alongside that, was part of what was at the time called the BEF Excel Talent Program. It was like the level below world class. And I think they've now turned that into like the national academies and things like that. The Excel Talent Program was amazing. I learned so much from that. There was so much support, sports psychologists, farriers, everything. That was incredible. I don't think I would be the athlete I am now without them. Rider. As I said that, I was like, I can't say that.
You can, of course. It's not easy to do.
I've been to the gym 3 times this week. I am an athlete.
Yeah, but how many times have you ridden a horse a day?
1 horse a day, just once.
Just 1 horse a day?
No.
How many horses a day do you ride?
3 to 4 currently, because I have riders. It's wonderful.
I think that's an
So
athlete
nice.
here. I'd put you an athlete here.
Thanks, Ash. But I completely forgot what we were talking about now.
Oh, so have I.
GB teams.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
the
do you
Excel
say
Taylor
schemes?
program.
At least
really
one
good.
of us is listening over here.
The GB teams, I think, potentially less so at the time. I think they've got a lot better. But at the time, it was very much, you'd go to a training session, they would say, this is what you need to go away and work on, this is what isn't good, get better. And then you'd go back the next month and they'd be like, this is what isn't good, get better. And I think the support was potentially not there then. Now I think I've seen, like I've been to some of the National Academy training now, and the support they have there is what I had at Excel. It's the same support in terms of farriers, and they're now doing like profiling to make you better athletes and things like that. That's all got loads better than it was when I was there. Not to say there is still stuff that needs to be done. I think especially in terms of your mental health support, especially that transition, I think, from young riders into professionals. I am yet to find a professional rider now that has had a seamless transition from young riders to doing it as a business. So that needs filling up in some way.
For the riders that you sort of grew up with competing on the junior and young rider teams, how many of them are still riding?
So I did teams with Lottie Fry. Obviously, she's doing all right. Yeah. Ellie, I did teams with, but like we never ended up being on a team together. Erin Williams, I was on teams with. Who else? Maid Scruton, Claire Gallimore. Can't think of anyone else now. It's going to be really awkward if I've left anyone out, but really.
Sounds like an Oscars acceptance speech.
Thank you very much to everybody. But yeah, I mean, the majority of them, as far as I can think, don't do it anymore.
Really?
Or don't do it to a professional level. They might still do it on the side. I think there's maybe 2 or 3. And a lot of them have gone abroad now. That seems to be a thing. Like Angus Corridine, he's gone abroad.
Yeah, he's out in Holland, isn't he?
Yeah, he was like my little brother. I've known him since he was like 5. But yeah, so many go abroad now. And maybe that's because there's more horses there. Because they all seem to go and get lots of rides and compete. And
That's what Lottie did, didn't she?
Yeah.
Where is the place that you see that the most? Oh, sorry, I had a real
See
brain fart.
what?
I didn't really phrase it right. What
When they get
country
them,
do you
like,
see the
more
most
rides
rides?
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I think a lot of people from the UK head over to Holland.
yeah, Holland, Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top nations really for
Belgium seems to be good. No?
the show jumping.
Close. Really
I'm
close.
learning. The fact I even came out with a country that is like way
Just throw a
rated.
country out there. Switzerland. Really good.
South Korea, fantastic.
So also with Decomplicating Dressage, you offer support.
Mm-hmm.
What does that support consist of?
So the support site, it's like a membership group basically. So this came from my annoyance that I see so many coaches like teach their 45-minute lesson, and then like they never hear from their clients like until they come again. And that always used to really annoy me, because I was like, people don't have the problems in the lesson, like you're there to fix them. Then people have the problems when they go home and try and replicate it and forget things that happened in the lesson, or things come up and new problems come up they didn't experience and things like that. And that's where people struggle and have the problems. So that's where kind of the Decomplicating membership group is there more to kind of support that side. Like you can do it alongside your normal trainer, and it's basically there to fill in the gaps basically. So they get access to me if they have any questions. They can send in videos and all that, and I can kind of be there to give them my advice and my ideas and things that they could try. And then we've got like workshops and things that we do monthly, which they pick. So if there tends to be flows and patterns that people tend to struggle with things at different times. So we'll look at each of those, and it might be like test riding or a specific part of test riding and things like that. Or the training side, we had quite a few get young horses. So we did a whole series about young horses and how to produce them and what to do like day to day and things like that. So all the questions that you kind of, some of the things that you wish that you could ask your trainer sometimes feel a bit embarrassed to, and also the things that sometimes you don't have time to if you're going for like a 45-minute lesson, especially when the costs seem to be going up as well. So yeah.
What are some of the success stories that you had from that then?
So the main one, which is really exciting, is we had one rider who was at intro when we started, and she is just about to go and do her first PSG. Which is crazy.
That's mental.
So she came in at intro, and her goal was to feel like she could do her canter transitions without basically panicking, and she would just stress and she didn't really know what to do. And basically her horse would always strike off on the wrong leg or run through the trot and things like that. And she was like, my life would be complete if I could just have really easy canter transitions. Exactly the same horse.
That's mental.
Absolutely crazy. This woman tries so hard. She's also a full-time teacher. So she does this all like in absolute pitch black. She has her like car on with the headlights on to like make sure she can ride at night. It's absolutely crazy. It's just...
That's amazing. So has she done her first PSG?
So she's literally going out, not next week, but the week after.
That's mental. That's such a cool story, though.
I know.
What
really
subject
cool.
does she teach?
English. Why is that relevant?
I don't know. I was listening to that. I was like, I bet you that's an English teacher. That screams English. If you turn around and gone,
do you know what? It's so much easier saying it. I bet it's an English teacher after she's said, yeah, it's an English teacher.
If you just came out and it was like science or history, I'd be like, don't believe it. You could see an English teacher doing that.
So also BD accredited coach, moving up in the world. That is quite a big achievement.
Do you look at your achievements to Josh's and go, you really start to see a gap?
I am a professional.
Yeah, like that's what it really looks like.
No, do you know what? It's interesting because I think when we both went into professional, Josh's like business side picked up really quickly. And I've never told you this, but I remember being like really like, oh, for God's sake, like I fully appreciate the fact that he rides all these difficult horses and like I don't want to be doing that. However, it is really frustrating, but everyone goes off on their own. Like,
what's specifically frustrating or was frustrating?
I think he had so many rides and he was out competing. He was so bloody good at it. Like he would just go out and be like, "Oh, here's me getting my 75% again." And I'd be like,
that doesn't sound like
Great,
Josh at all.
brilliant.
Yeah, but it's quite a weird one because I was younger than Jess by like 6 months, so she always was like my older sister, and I was always looking up to her. And I remember when I was like maybe 14, 15, I went to the Home International in Wales, I think it was. Not Wales, no, it was up at...
This is a Bicton.
Yes, and I was watching you ride in the warm-up, and I like... So we were quite young at this point. I remember looking at Jess and being like, wow, I want to ride like that one day. So throughout our relationship of growing up each other, like I visibly like remember her... I don't know if you had your trainer there helping you warm up or not, but I just remember watching and the way that you were using... So counterbend to help you while warming up this horse, and I was like, you know what?
That's so specific.
Yeah, I vividly remember this. I was watching there.
Talks to me about it once a week at least.
I literally don't even remember this happening. So.
But yeah, no, that's what one of my vivid
had
remembers.
Such a profound impact on your career.
Because you had
all dad to me.
Yeah, absolutely. You wear a dark blue jacket, don't you?
Really?
So does everyone.
What helmet was she wearing?
I can't remember that. I just remember how Jess would always look when she was riding. She'd always look like top. She was one of the top riders at the time in our age bracket. So I'd always look up to Jess.
It's escalated since then.
I'm more impressed that he remembers a colour from his colour blindness, and yet he's gone, she wore a dark blue.
This was pre-colour blindness, mate.
Oh, yeah. I always forget that you weren't born with colour blindness. It just sort of occurred.
Yeah, amazing what falling off a really naughty pony can do.
Was that the video we were talking about earlier with the fences?
That was another time.
Oh, that was up.
I don't think I would have been able to post that because I had a seizure and stopped breathing.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah, apparently it was quite funny though because I was freaking out.
Interested to see where you go with this one. Yep.
No, I only remember waking up once, but apparently I woke up maybe like 7 or 8 times just repeating the same thing, which I can't remember exactly what that was.
I'm a better rider than Jess Gale.
I wish.
And yeah, they were like the what do you call them? Ambulance people.
Paramedics.
Them people.
God.
Thank you, healthcare professional people.
They were holding me down because they thought I had like a spinal injury at this point because the way that I was obviously not in a good way. And I remember just freaking out and being like, get off me. I've never been claustrophobic in my life until that moment, and it was awful. It was genuinely awful. And then I've been strapped to numerous boards now. I think like 4 times in an ambulance for falls. We get strapped to a board and a neck brace. That is the worst experience of my life.
Yeah, especially if you're not accustomed to that. That's like
why would you be accustomed to that? Why is that your normal thing? That's worse than me not knowing what a paramedic is. Yeah, today again
That's what I do
I'm
on a
getting
daily
strapped
basis.
to a board and a neck brace.
Yeah, no, that's...
Honestly, that is the worst thing. The most annoying thing about this whole time and all the bad falls that I've had, I never got the blue lights.
No, because they don't want to look. Because if you're not going into cardiac arrest, but also
but when I was like, especially when I was younger, like 13, 14,
you want to experience
I wanted to experience it, but
yeah,
I never got that opportunity.
Go on, turn it on.
They think you've got a spinal injury and they're ranging it around corners at 16. You just have boom.
Yeah, honestly, that is the worst experience, being on a board and going over bumps. Though it's not fun.
Now imagine that on blues.
Yeah, would not have been good.
It worked out for the best.
And even like I remember being like, the last time I was like 21, I was taken into the hospital.
You're only 21
I was going to say the last time you were 21.
I was going to say you're only 21.
Right, the time
but
I was
the
21,
second
when it last happened, I being in a neck brace, everything, I just started pulling it off in the. I wouldn't recommend this, by the way, but I was so claustrophobic at this moment in time, and I've been stuck in a neck brace for 3 hours, which is the most uncomfortable thing ever. And I just started ripping it off. Yeah, it was not good. I don't recommend this, by the way. I was just freaking out at this point. Badly, and you know how dramatic I can get when
all I can hear as you're saying that is
mate, I was kicking off. I was going mad. Honestly, I think my dad was there as well, and I was freaking out. There was no logic coming out of me. I was just like, get this thing off me now, and everyone was like, no, you got to keep it on. I was like, I'm trying to rip at it.
All I can hear is David Brent going, oh, you're hard. We started with being a BD accredited coach, and then somehow we got onto escalated. What's the process in becoming a BD accredited coach?
So you have to. So you're level 2. Again, it's like UKCC. So BD now do their own coaching qualifications. So I did my level 2. That's to theoretically teach people up to elementary level. And then level 3 is to teach people kind of elementary above, like around advanced medium PSG level. So it's basically a course that you do to tick a box, but you learn quite a lot about how to actually teach and how to teach. I do a lot of teaching now with BD regions. So they teach you how to teach that way so that everyone kind of teaches in the same way, basically. So
how is it teaching for BD regions as you were once part of a BD region coming through?
It's weird. I think sometimes you get a bit of like it depends who you're teaching with. I think if you're teaching with people who are at a similar coaching kind of level to you, you're a bit happier. If you're teaching with like Spencer Wilton alongside you, you're a little bit like an imposter here. But most of the time it's pretty even. So I love teaching the kids. So I teach a lot with BD youth. So that's my.
You're on the lookout for the next Josh Hill.
Next, Jess Gale.
And it continues.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be many other dressage riders like me though. In the way that I am, not the way that I rode, by the way. Just for reference.
No, but I think
more my
In a good way or in a bad way?
Huh?
You'd be like, there's never going to be someone like me.
I don't know. Maybe the.
I think it depends. I think it depends on your perspective.
I think my hair is slightly purple at the moment because I dyed it on Saturday.
Oh, so
Saturday.
green.
I know it's purple, so don't try and do this to me, all right? I saw the packet, all right? So it's fine.
So you saw the colour on the packet?
Well, no, I saw red on the packet.
You saw, fair enough. That's where I'd struggle with is the reading side. You can tell it's been a long day, Jess. It's getting there. How do you find staying motivated within what you're doing? So I try to take it back to an actual clever route. How do you find staying motivated doing everything you're doing? I feel like I nailed that question, but everyone looked at me like, you didn't.
You doing what you're doing.
Do you mean energy wise, or do you mean being
I just want you to know, Jess, usually-
do you just want me to talk?
Can I rephrase this?
Yeah, please, because I want you to know, Jess, usually we are really good at this.
We're not though.
We're getting better, I think. But today's just a bit of a backstep, okay? It's just a bit of a minor hiccup.
Do you know what? I think if I didn't know you, you could probably be more professional, but the fact that you are both being so professional saying questions is just weird in itself. So
Yeah, Jess, so you just tell me about you and I'll just sit here and pretend like I was
just
giving
talk for
a
an hour.
fuck. Yeah, you go.
How have you stayed motivating with your riding? Has there been a time where you've fallen out of love for the riding aspect?
Yeah, what he said.
Really good question, Ash.
Thank
by
you.
the way. I think
How do you do it?
What?
I ask such good questions.
Well, they get given to me on a piece of paper that I've intensively researched.
I can read really
I
well.
really can't. I can just about do the intros when they're giving
That
me...
intro was really long, by the way. I was really
Yeah, I
impressed.
thought that as well.
I was
It
getting,
went on and
I was
on
getting
and
halfway through it and I was like, we've had some incredible guests and I feel like we've actually not given them the justice they deserve. Everyone's like,
And
yeah, this
just
is blah, blah,
over
blah,
here.
and they've done this, fantastic. But, well, this was a lot of love went into that.
Felt a bit like
Just
a
not the-
eulogy.
Yeah, it felt like a eulogy, just without the grammar.
Why eulogy?
She said eulogy.
That's what
I
I
didn't
said.
say eulogy. Oh, look, I'm not that nasty.
Okay, anyway, getting back to it.
Motivation.
How do you stay motivated?
How have you stayed in love riding?
I think it's hard. I think it goes in and out very much. It's so dependent on so many things. Ash keeps laughing at me. You're going to have to cut this and I'll start again.
Okay, yeah, go on.
He won't cut it though, so there's just no point in even pretending he's
No,
going.
if I'm honest, I don't have the time or the care to cut it. I was being really childish there and I found an innuendo and I laughed. Okay,
Look how many times Ellie McCarthy tried to say her team name. Did you just left it in?
That was actually really funny though.
I'm like, yeah, I'll cut it, yeah.
Sure, I'm
No.
a really nice person. Nope.
Motivation.
Motivation goes up and down very much. I think I probably fell out of love with it before I went into teaching. I'm just not going to look at you anymore. But I think...
I thought I kept a pretty straight face there.
No. Good try. I think before I went into teaching, I lost a lot of love for it. I think because of struggling to make money, trying to turn it into a job. And I think that transition from doing it as a job to doing it as your hobby is a big change. Because I think when people do it as their hobby, it's like their downtime and their fun time and they spend time with their horse and they have all the time in the world to spend with that one horse. Whereas when it's a job, it's very much like the results matter and you need to be getting certain results and doing certain things and you don't necessarily have as much time to spend with each horse as you'd like to. So my staff just cuddle all my horses for me, which is really sad. But I think probably motivation-wise, I'm now much more even. But again, it's totally dependent on the day. Like, I'm not going to lie. There are some days where I get up and I'm like, I really don't want to ride today. Like, the horses are going really badly and it's not going well and I'm having a really bad day. And there are other days where I'm like, absolutely love this and this is the best job in the world. And I think it's hard when you see on social media so many people posting there, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm getting 10 horses ridden before 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm coaching 20 riders who are out doing amazing, getting amazing results, and I'm still can have a social life and hold down a relationship and a full-time job and everything else and make loads of money. And it just creates this idea that everyone's doing really well, when I think the more people I speak to, everyone's in the same boat. So it's fine to have days where you don't want to ride, and it's fine to have days where you think, actually, that schooling session was awful, or I didn't actually ride as well as I could, because we all have them, and it doesn't matter whether you're a professional or not. We all have our bad days. So,
do you ever remember the first time going down the centre line, doing it as a job from a hobby?
yes, but purely because it just so happened to be the first time I went down the centre line for an owner. So I'd done a lot of like young horses, but I'd never actually competed them. And the first time I went down the centre line as a job, I went down for an owner, and it went so badly wrong.
Really?
It really couldn't have gone much worse. I think purely probably because of the pressure I put on myself, rather than actually, like, training was absolutely fine. Horse was really good. I was in a really good place. It was purely the pressure I put on myself that made that test go from what could have been okay to absolutely awful.
Do you think people realise actually how much their like mental side of dressage is, I don't know, it's not really taken seriously enough to a certain extent?
No, and it's really interesting. So we do a lot of mindset work on the platform with Decomplicating, and it's so interesting when we talk about things like having a routine before you compete and having a plan for your warm-up and things like that. So many people don't watch them. And yet, from the people that I coach, that is where people go wrong. It's actually, what are you doing in your warm-up? Well, I don't really know. I just kind of walk, try and canter my horse around and then go down the centre line. Okay, well, what are you doing?
Honestly, that aggravates me that people don't do it. I'm literally like, I had to be on like 23 minutes before.
Yeah.
Every single horse was 23 minutes, and it didn't count. Like, I would get on at 51 or 24 to hit that target. I walked for 7 minutes, and then I start my warm-up process.
That was so many numbers. I could see Ash's brain blowing.
Yeah, but he knows what I'm like with numbers.
I look like Alan from The Hangover.
And then you've got like people, and you're like, you just go in and...
My biggest bugbear is when I say, what do you do around the outside of the arena? And they go, I trot. And you're like, seriously? Like, you've walked from the warm-up. You've had your horse exactly how you want it. You've walked. They've switched off. You have like 40 seconds to get your horse back how you want it. Make the most of it before you go down that centre line. Don't just trot around.
Yeah, because I would always utilise the warm-up to almost have my problems in the warm-up.
Yeah, 100%.
Have the problems in the warm-up, go down the test, you're sorted. That's how I do it. And that's always, I want the problems to happen in the warm-up, not in front of the judge.
I would argue the problem should be happening in the training, but yeah. Aside from that,
I was riding naughty horses, Jessica, all right? Some of them wanted to kill me.
I think it was a really good sales pitch. That's why they should go to you. Yeah. It's
if you go to Josh, you're going to have to still think about your warm-up.
I nearly killed the stewards at Kiso because one of my the mare I was riding reversed back into the boards and was just rearing continuously as I was called into the arena. And everyone could hear this crashing.
Didn't you ruin some poor girl's test? Or
that was another horse. That wasn't actually my fault either.
Yeah, so that other time that you...
yeah, that was genuinely the worst thing ever. Was she ended up getting eliminated because she went wrong, I think. But what happened was I was in the end arena at Kiso at the regionals, and I had to walk back. I got to the first arena, so I was just about to exit. Horse freaked out, reversed backwards into her boards and smashed all her boards up in a dressage test. Honestly, I felt awful. It was bad.
Do you know who it was?
Huh?
Do you know who it was?
Can we do a formal apology?
I was going to say, I think you need to...
No, we did. Don't worry. There was a formal apology done at the time.
Like
Is there a formal complaint made as well?
Probably,
the apology was after the complaint.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good. Yeah, but I've had quite a few things like that happen. Yeah.
I haven't, just putting that out there.
Well, I think that goes down to why you should get all those problems out in the training, not the warm up. But then again, I wouldn't know because I don't have problems.
It's just perfect from the get go.
I am. I think my success rate is 100% because if it zero, I don't know where I'm going with this, Jess. I really, it was a joke punchline coming. It just never left the station, never arrived. It was dreadful.
Is there one partnership with a horse that sticks out to you?
Oh, God, that's so hard. So I've got my old reserve team horse back. He went to be retired and he wouldn't retire and he kept galloping around the field. So he's come back in and I'm riding him again. And it's so awful. And I have all these, like, I know how he used to be, but because he's now older, I'm now like, this horse isn't supple and this horse isn't on the bit, and it just feels so bad. And I'm like, I've trained this, like I had him from a 4-year-old all the way up till he was 12, like this is all on me. But because he's had that time off and everything, that's fine. But he is so much fun, and he's the one that I'm like, this is my best friend in a horse. But Grace, who I've got now, and Nero, who are my 2 competition ones at the moment, they're the ones that I've really had to step up as a rider, because they've both made me go, you don't know shit. And I've gone with both of them. I've been like, right, I've trained, and especially with the sales horses as well, like you ride so many different horses and then they sell and you get new ones in, and especially with the advanced ones, like with the changes and things, like you've got to be so quick to get them really good, be able to show them for viewings and for videos and things like that. And I thought that I was okay at training a horse, like definitely up to PSG. I was pretty confident that I could do an okay job. And then Grace and Nero, just nothing worked. And especially with Grace, she's a mare. I would be like, right, I've got like 4 or 5 ways of doing this. None of them worked. And I was like, flip, I don't know what to do now. Like at least one of them always worked. And so I've had to find new ways and learn new things with both of them. And I think they're generally the ones that if you go from like 0 and it progresses up, it's so much more rewarding. And I've definitely learnt loads more from those 2 than probably with some of the other ones that were maybe a little bit easier to ride. And I probably felt like I got a better tune out of them quicker. Didn't necessarily learn as much. I wouldn't say I was necessarily a better rider from them, but these 2 definitely are tricky, but good.
So where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
I'm going to be controversial here because
Potentially married. Potentially.
we really hope
Divorced and remarried.
Which I would have got an invite to.
Second time lucky.
We really hope married. I'm not one of those riders that's like, I want to go to the Olympics. Like, it's not my thing.
I mean, why would you?
I mean, yeah, like why? No, I think if you want to be that good, you've got to be prepared to sacrifice everything to be like the best. And I think your riders like Charlotte are like, they're sacrificing everything. And I'm not prepared to do that. I want to have really happy horses that are progressing and training and feeling better and being the best they can be. But I wouldn't say I have massive aspirations to like be the best of the best. That's really controversial to say, because I don't
think so. I think that's you. Yeah, your perspectives are.
Yeah, and I think to be
different.
a professional rider and say I'm not actually trying to be an Olympic rider is interesting. But definitely, I think the 2 horses at the moment are definitely Grand Prix. They're both training Grand Prix now, so that's definitely something that I'd like to do with them. And yeah, the coaching side is probably the area that I'm wanting to do most of my work in. So that and the kind of decomplicating side is where I see most of it going. Preferably something within BD Youth, but you know, I think there's a lot of things that I want to do there. So hopefully, yeah, there'll be something in that area.
I have a final question, a round-up question, and it goes on to the 100 episodes for your podcast that you've managed to do.
I really hope there are 100 episodes, because if they're not, this is going to be really awkward.
You've got more episodes than us. So it's a question for us, really, but also I guess can transpire to whoever's listening. How do you manage to stay so consistent?
I'm not.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
That's amazing.
I think it's. Do you know,
do you know what? If we ended it, I'm okay with that.
do you know what I used?
It's an honest answer. Do you know what I mean? You can't not give it.
It's direct, isn't it?
Exactly.
I used to be.
It's time to go.
I used to be so much more consistent, but I would sacrifice the horses and like everything else. Whereas now I'm much more. I'm going to try and be serious. If now the horses for me are coming first of all.
Jess, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, is there anything that you want to plug while you're on the world's #1 equestrian podcast?
Decomplicated dressage, probably.
It'll help boost yours.
Yeah, go for yeah.
Where
Go
can
listen
where
to
can
the
people-
actual #1 men's podcast.
Yeah, that's true. They can also find that on Apple Music. Thank you for reminding me. Do forget about that. Where can they find your socials if they want to find you?
If you're wanting horses for sale, Froxfield Dressage. If you're wanting to follow me, Jess Gale Dressage. If you're wanting decomplicating Dressage.
Did you just smell your armpit? Did I just get Did he just... I don't know if I caught a little whiff of that. I thought you was giving yourself a checkout. I was going to say, you smell lovely. You smell fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much just for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure. Please, next time, let's not do numbers and stuff like that, because there was a moment I really had to work hard.
Your eyes nearly rolled into the back of your head.
I had to work hard.
I think we should just leave it here now.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you go to YouTube, watch it, stream it. Make sure you are following. It really does help.
Share all the clips that you'll see come out on here. As Jess has 100% said, she'll share everything that we tag her in as well.
I don't know why you said that
because
she
people
will.
Forget. Yeah, that was it's now been said on a podcast.
I'm going to get another really aggressive message.
That's very true. Yeah. I've really enjoyed this podcast. It was really nice catching up. It's like on a friendship level, but also really getting to the nitty gritty of it. Aww, I've loved it.
Like a therapy
Thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.